Ayan, ayan. Ayan na tayo, boys. Ayan. Ayan na, nagsama yung mga vlogger, boys. Kamusta kayo dyan, mga ka-Project Pilipinas? We're here again today to discuss the latest. Oh, by the way, ito na para naman wala naman sabi mga trolls spoiler alert. Okay, like caption.
Kaya ka nare-report eh.
Mare-report na, mamamas report na naman tayo. Just to tell you, I just asked a lawyer friend of mine who argued before Supreme Court. Wag kayo mag-feeling, okay? Ano yan? Hindi ako nagbigay ng plot and everything like that. Just references and freedom of speech ka. Anyway, spoiler alert. Again, sa lahat ng mga movies natin, spoiler alert. So, walang sisiyan. Okay? Ginusto na yan kung nakinig kayo dito sa amin. Alright? Okay. So, bro, obviously, dalawa yung big movies at hindi kasama dyan si Thor. Sorry na lang kay Thor. I never thought this will happen to Thor na not even number 3, no? Parang pang-apat lang siya doon sa ibang mall, no? Oh my God. Akala mo parang may Thor ka nga.
Number 5 yung Yamashita. Nakita mo yan. Meron pa isang...
Umabol pang Talano. Ay, Yamashita pala, hindi Talano. Ayan tayo. Talagang malalaman mo saan papuntang bayan natin. Siyempre, let's be fair naman to Thor. Wala naman free tickets sa Thor. Wala naman mayor nagbigay ng free ticket or mga chambers of industries na nagbibigay. So, partida naman yan kay Thor. Wala yung hammer niya eh. May free kasing may Talano Gold yung Okay. Okay, ito na. Mass report na naman tayo na ito. Mga kasama. Okay, let's start muna with... Okay, let's just go exactly with the flow of the movie we watched together first. Ay, ang sweet natin. While in mask, okay. Sige. Pag-usapan muna natin.
Unahin natin yung KATIPS muna.
Unahin natin yung KATIPS. And by the way, just to be clear, that was not out of political preference or partisanship alone. It just happened na paras kami pwede sa Green Hills nung oras na yan, kaya nanood kami ng KATIPS ng sabay, no? But paras din kami.
Ko na yung MAID nung umaga.
Tapos ako naman kahapon. So nakita niyo na yung mga initial reaction ko siguro pag napanood niyo yung mga Facebook natin, etc. Again, spoiler alert. So doon sa mga nag-feeling as if naman pinag-usapan natin mga auteur movies dito. Okay, anyway. Obviously, I'm not referring to KATIPS, which I think is quite an interesting movie. Medyo high level yung director. Okay, bro. So speaking of KATIPS, it just came out of nowhere, right? Parang last year pa yata dapat yung movie niya. Diba? Can you tell us more about that? Kasi parang, di ba the one was talking about KATIPS, biglang 2 weeks ago lang biglang lumitaw yan sa headlines and all? So what was going on?
Parang last year siya, nagkaroon ng special viewing for it.
I
think sa Gateway ata yun. Tapos siguro, parang passion project siguro siya nitong si Direk Vince Tañada.
Yeah.
Siguro ginagawa nila yung play. Tapos, usually, pag yung mga movies na ganyan, kasi nasa pandemic pa nung last year. So
correct.
Expect na sila niya. Siguro, ang iniisip dyan, pwedeng ibenta sa mga streaming services,
Netflix,
sa mga awards,
yeah.
mga international film festivals, ganun. So, ganun siguro yung idea ni Direk Vince Tañada dyan sa KATIPS last year. Hindi nga natin narinig yan last year eh.
Yun nga it came out of nowhere eh.
Pero ito, biglang nagkaroon ng malaking opportunity. Kasi yung Made in Malacanang, August 3 yung showing. Tapos ewan ko, siguro nagkaroon siya ng brilliant idea na itapat yung showing. And very, very smart move on Direk Vince. I would have to commend him on that. Kasi,
you mean marketing? Marketing.
Marketing na walang gastos.
And of course, political.
Ng mga mainstream media. And yung mga, of course, yung mga campaigns, nagkaroon ng movie that they could rally.
Rally around, yeah.
Rally around.
And behind,
Napaka-brilliant nung ginawa niya. And I'm not sure kung how much they have made na. Kasi may lumalabas na 41M, pero joke lang pala yun. Pero I'm sure a few millions na. I think the movie for sure. A few millions na
yeah, because some cinema actually medyo puno, no? Of course, depending sa oras, sa lugar. But some places actually did pretty well, no? That's what we see based on the reports we saw. Now, I mean, of course, now we see a lot of people making fun of KATIPS or whatever, saying not many people are showing up. But actually, we saw also in some malls, it did pretty well, right? At least in the opening hours and all, marami talagang dumalo. Now, of course, we don't have the breakdown of numbers. So hindi kami magpapanggap na alam namin yung situation. But we know that a lot of Made in Malacanang, of course, medyo na punong-puno. But we also know na maraming free giveaways in that case na wala dito sa KATIPS. No? So KATIPS was operating on a very thin budget and not mass free ticket giveaways. Let's just be very clear about that.
Yung mga nagbebenta ng tickets, if you ask them, ate, marami na ba yung passes? They will show you eh. Kasi
yeah. Yung mga nandun. Correct.
Na,
Anong sabi?
Hindi, papakita nila sa'yo, ganito na yung kakapal, yung nagbigay ng passes.
Kasi
so, merong iba nagbabayad, pero merong iba, marami ang galing doon sa passes na yun. Which I think naman, binayaran din naman yun. Baka ng politiko or ng businessman or kung sino.
Right. Of course, show of force din kasi yan eh. In many way. Right, now, KATIPS, of course, got interesting also because I think it's one of the few cases whereby, or only I know at least, na nanalo yung director na best actor din at best director. Diba? Parang ibang level yan. Ibang level eh. Ibang level, diba? So, by the way, I hope you're comfortable to talk about it. I mean, you know some of the actors in that movie, right? Or at least one of them.
I'm good friends dun sa lead actress, si Nicole Asensio. Siya yung galing US na partner ni Jerome Ponce.
Yeah.
Si Jerome Ponce, nakilala ko din because yung kanyang girlfriend, si Sash na. Si Sash na yung girl na yung sa intro.
Right. Mukhang nag-cut ka yata. No, I remember, bro, na, ano sabi natin? Yeah, na, kaya nga hindi ko alam kung sino yung mga alam mo in particular. Yeah, sorry, na-cut ka ng sandali. No worries about that. No, what I know and what I remember is that you said kilala mo some of these people here dito sa movie. Kilala mo some of them. So you know both the lead actress and then also the other.
The lead actor.
Yeah, but yung lead actor kilala mo? Yung lead actor, yeah.
Hindi, na-meet ko na lang.
Kasi boyfriend niya yung Models of Manila, which is your project, of course, right? Right. That's very interesting. Now, Englishera si Nicole dun sa movie, is she like that also in real life? I'm not saying it in a chismis way. I just want to know authenticity. Kasi mukhang she's really like that, no? Mukhang legit yan, hindi yan.
And she is, hindi ito nababanggit, but she is also political royalty. Okay, Nicole is Laurel.
Right. Diba? So, Presidente Laurel.
Ni Vice President Doy Laurel.
Right.
Yung kanyang mom ay si Iwi Laurel, yung merong hit song nung before.
So medyo aristocratic siya, political, entertainment background. And you said she's also from opera, musical, really background, right?
Yung Laurel is from her mother's side. Her father's side is si Fides Asensio. Who has just been awarded, just became a national artist.
Right. So it's as royalty as you can get, right? Like it's like Kennedy's and Rockefeller and all of that one put into together, right? A version of the Philippines. Wow. So she has quite a let's say quite a prestigious background, if I may put it that way. Yun nga, actually nakita ko yung parts kasi yun nga, a part of me was watching it and then I said, okay, I can imagine what the theatrical version would have been. And I could imagine that your friend, Nicole, anong pangalan ng character niya again doon sa KATIPS? Again, spoiler alert, no? Again, kasi kilala mo na siya, di ba? So parang Nicole lang naalala ko. Like, and then my parts kasi si Nicole was singing and then dancing, etc. Nakita, okay, parang Broadway talaga ito, Broadway. Parang New York, Chicago, Broadway level. So medyo high level. So she can also sing opera.
Si Nicole sa ganyan.
Right. And did she tell you something about paano siya na-involve dito sa show na yan? Kilala niya si Vincent? I mean, how does it work?
Yun, wala. Hindi namin napag-usapan.
Di ba nag-meet kayo the other day lang? Dumalo kayo dun?
Dapat kagabi.
So what happened?
Pupunta dapat ako ng black screening. Kaso, nung nilabas ko yung movie review ko, ewan ko napanood binabasa ko yung comments mo eh. Comment naman kayo, napanood niyo ba yung movie review ko sa KATIPS? Medyo hindi ganun kaganda yung movie review ko. So, I decided na hindi na lang pumunta.
Right.
Baka nagalit siya sa akin or hindi kung galit siya sa akin o kung napanood niya yung movie review ko. Pero yun eh, hindi ko na siya
Well,
nakausap.
to be fair, I gave you an advice. I said there's a way to do a review, right? Aside from saying, magaling yung kaibigan ko pero hindi ko alam kung magaling. Parang ganito eh. Magaling yung driver pero hindi magaling yung kotse. Parang, alam mo, hindi. Parang ganun yata ang ginawa mo eh.
Might get awkward eh. Nandun sila Direct Vince, nandun sila ano.
Yeah.
Tapos there might be people who have watched my review. So,
Come
I
on,
decided
bro.
na-
Come on, bro. No, I don't
And
think
then,
so. In fairness, kasi you come from a good place naman eh. You come from a good place. Sige, we'll get to your review soon. And then my review, and then we'll combine it and see where the conversation goes. So I know where, parang hindi mo palang sinabing review mo, alam ko na yung sasabihin mo, right? So I know, I mean, we had a long conversation. Salamat sa paghatid sa bahay nung gabi na yan. Ang sweet mo, pare. Kasi nag-grab na lang ako noon. Nag-grab yung, kala ko wala ng parking. Dahil akala ko ang daming manonood, etc. Now, okay. What are you expecting before watching the movie? Let's start with that again.
Ayun. Hindi ko kasi napanood yung trailer. So,
Hindi mo na pa yung trailer.
Mali nga eh. Dapat ano eh.
Yeah, okay. Ako kasi nakita ko yung trailer, then interesado ako eh. Let me pull out the trailer. Yeah, you were saying, yeah.
Kasi I didn't know what, parang I came there na, alam ko lang, it's parang showing yung mga totoong nangyari sa martial law. So, pero in fairness, di ba, napakita naman niya yung mga reality doon sa martial law.
Right.
Nangyayari ng mga abuses nung ilang mga kapulisan during that time. So yun.
But, you know, I mean, okay. Like, kasi alam mo si Attorney Tanyada, no, si Director Tanyada, of course talagang teatro talaga yung background niya, 'di ba? Now, we know some people or more than some people who had a theatrical background but they were big success doon sa you know, sa mga box office movies. So, like Cesar Montano, right? I got to know na apparently Cesar Montano actually had a theater background, no? So I have friends from UP who told me naabutan nila si Cesar Montano nung bata pa siya at napakagaling niya daw niya sa teatro. Ako first time ko napanood siya sa yung Bagong Buwan, yung movie yung about Mindanao War. Sobrang nagalingan ako sa kanya. But of course, we know like the arc of his career and you know the rest. Okay, we'll not go fast forward. No, so we have precedents whereby you had people who are really good theater actors and then became big success no sa mainstream media and all. So for me, porque teatro itong background nito, I won't say na baka mahirapan siya etc. But ikaw parang knowing na theater, musical, okay, ganito. Kasi trailer parang may musical bigla eh. And then biglang what? So ano to? Les Miserables? Parang ganon, di ba? Parang is that like but parang ang point ko kasi is Les Miserables, as much as it was about tragedy, it was more about generalized injustice. But this one is more next level kasi it's about martial law, torture. Okay, so again, spoiler alert. We'll discuss some things later on. So there were a lot of that, no? So I don't know. A part of me was ambivalent na is this the best way? I won't say the right way. I think that's not the best way to. But is this the best way to communicate a very complicated issue? Is this the right medium? Right? Musical, etc. Ikaw, alam mo ba na magkaroon ng musical dyan before ka nanood?
Hindi, alam ko na musical. So,
Okay.
sa akin yung music naman, the music part was alright eh.
Really? So you like the musical part? Comparatively?
Sa akin, it was okay naman. Mga
Pwede na.
Songs were okay na, were good eh. So, pero yung ang nalilito lang din ako, maybe kung ano
Eto
yung
na.
pinaka point na it was trying to drive eh.
Yeah.
Ano yung
Anong gusto niyang sabihin? Yeah.
Anong gusto niyang sabihin eh? Yung sa I said din sa review ko, nakukulangan ako yung pagdating sa character development, kung anong
Yeah.
kung ano yung pinaka gustong mangyari ng movie from start to finish or is it a love story ba? Or is it more of a love story lang talaga between Nicole and yung si Jerome and yung si
Vince,
and
yeah, right.
Ikaw ba? For you ba? At least
Yeah, I know I'm putting you in a tough spot. Let me pick it up for you. Balikan kita, don't worry. Papahirapan din kita dito kasi alam ko lagot tayo dito pag hindi tayo maayos. Okay. Ganito. Obviously, it was supposed to be a mosaic, right? So, different life stories, different love stories interspersed, right? It was about, for me, humanizing yung buhay ng mga aktivista, no? Etc. It's about showing na tao rin sila, nagmamahal sila. Pag na-tridor sila or nasasaktan sila, no? They're just like us. And of course, this for me, that's very relevant in a climate of red tagging. Na yung mga aktivista, immediately nire-red tag sila, pinapakita sila bilang like subhumans, mob, monsters, treasonous, etc. Here, nakita natin, tao lang sila, katulad natin lahat, nagmamahal, nasasaktan, may heartbreak, may hugot, may yabang, and humor, no? Maraming mga corny pa nga yung ibang parts, di ba? So, that was interesting for me. I think the humanizing part is the interesting. But, as we will discuss later on, and as I've said also about yung issue ko naman dun sa Made in Malacanang is there was also an element of context deficit or vacuum. Now, dun sa Made in Malacanang, I have a big issue with the context vacuum. We'll discuss it later on. But dito, ang context issue is like, for instance, again, spoiler alert, yung build-up pa lang na movie, biglang andun na sa di ba? It's like in the protest rally mode. Pero hindi natin naintindihan ano yung context. Kasi, again, sorry if I'm juxtaposing right away. And then, again, spoiler alert. Diyan kasi sa Made in Malacanang, there'll be historical footages and archives used, di ba? To kind of give it a authenticity. Parang wala masyado dito, di ba? So parang it's like jumping right away into the discussion. Walang buwelo masyado. Yung buwelo eh. Medyo yung buwelong wala sa akin eh. Yun doon ako na, parang, wait lang, dito na tayo kaagad.
Tama yung sinabi mo nung huling live mo about dito eh. Parang hindi ko maintindihan where the lead actors are coming from.
Yes.
Kung bakit ganun si Jerome.
Origin stories.
Yung origin stories.
Yes.
Kung si Vince Tanyada, yung sa kanyang role, bakit siya ganun, why did he decide to become an activist. Ganun din kay Jerome. So, yun ang sa akin, parang hindi mo tuloy masyadong maintindihan kung ano yung parang gusto nilang mangyari, ano yung gusto nilang yung buong objective nila, bakit nila ginagawa, bakit sila nag-uwelga, siguro it would have been better nga if it was explained or kung ano yung naging story, kung paano siya napasok doon, why did he became the leader of the parang student organization, di ba?
Kasi parang pa-cute lang siya na lalaki, di ba? Pa-cute lang siya, easygoing. So paano siya naging activist na hardcore na next level, di ba? Like yung transition na yun, hindi ko nakita eh. Like how did a sweet guy, student like that turn into this? So, yeah, the origin stories, that's the term I'll use there. Yun ang medyo for me parang, again, probably a theatrical version or director's cut. Baka may director's cut. Pero it's not like the movie was short, di ba? 2 hours in plus na yan, di ba? I mean, tagal ng movie eh. So there was a lot of room, I think, for developing a lot of these characters, right? Of course, one character was very well developed. The best actor, best director, right? But even Vincent's character, we didn't know much about his background, where he was coming from. But in terms of yung hindi ako man... Ayun. Hindi wala na spoiler. I was thinking spoiler ba ito? Yung part na yan, yung transition niya from hardcore activist to kind of a heartbroken man, etc. That was interesting for me. There was an arc there, right? But yun nga, origin stories. Sabi ko, yung character ng Nicole, ang pinaka-develop yung origin stories eh.
Ayun, actually siya.
Interestingly, siyang
character development.
Nicole has the best character development, yeah.
Maano na ako, huwag ko nalang spoil. Yung mga di pa nakakapanood, panoorin nyo na lang kung gusto nyo malaman.
Ayan, ikaw na-conscious ka na rin. After mag-booking ka na, ikaw na-conscious. Ayan, sorry talaga guys, nag-spoiler alert kami dito.
Pati ako, i-share na rin yung sentiments.
Okay lang yun, bro.
Pero yun nga, si Nicole yung si Nicole pa yung merong character development na she started na parang walang pakialam, parang walang akala niya yung Pilipinas is maayos and tapos in the end, di ba? Nakita niya na hindi pala that many pala are hindi okay. Marami pala mga bagay na hindi dapat nangyayari. Pero sa yung kay Jerome parang hindi ko masyadong except for the scenes na nag-uwelga sila, but in other scenes hindi mo gaano ramdam yung pagiging aktivista niya.
Yeah.
Unlike si best actor, si Derek Vince, talagang every time lahat talagang siya, aktivista.
He had many good scenes in his own movie. I mean, I'll give that to him. So I'm not surprised he became the best actor and best director. But putting that aside, yeah, as I felt there are many other characters there could have been developed better, and I think they had a lot of good potentials. Maraming magagaling na actors na ginamit dyan. A lot of them, a lot of them have mainstream appeal potential. A lot of them have clearly theatrical skills and all. So it was a good, I would say, ensemble. No, in that case, I quite appreciate it. Now, let's go a little bit further, no, and let's try to break down this even further. Now, one of the issues I raised, and I know you kind of agree with me, is that I think the transitions between the subplots sometimes was not as smooth, right? Medyo yung gear shifts.
Nakakalito.
Yeah, I mean, I won't go as far as saying that, but parang, you know, like I know there are parts na he was trying, for instance, there are parts na he's trying to show yung perspective ng masa, diba? Especially yung tatay ng isang character, diba? Yung mga city hall workers. Oh, that's interesting. There's perspective of this girl from America, blah, blah, blah. Okay, there's a perspective of, and then yung iba, hindi ko alam anong background ni character ni, yung ibang, yun nga yung problema ko like, maganda siyang mosaic efforts, but if hindi balance yung character development, the mosaic is not balanced too, right?
Ang problema ko nga, hindi ako ganun ka-invested dun sa mga characters eh. Hindi. Kaya nung sa dulong part, spoiler alert, nung merong parang inaabuso na ng mga police, parang hindi ko dapat supposedly dapat nasasaktan ka or kasi kilala ko yan pero wala.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yung identification sa characters hindi na build ng fully. So parang
kasi 'di ba dapat usually you build up to that
Yeah.
Na doon sa part na where they get parang you are invested na sama na din loob mo.
Oo. Yung pathos. Yeah, yung simpatia, yung investment sa character, yung identification. I get what you're saying. That's an interesting point of view. So, one concern, in fairness to Vincent, I think he did a good job of making sure he doesn't get embroiled into partisan politics. Like, so you watch that movie, there's very little yellow there and zero pink, right? I mean, there's no reference to what's happening right now. There is some parts, there's some reference to Ninoy and all. Again, spoiler alert, but I won't go further. But it's really more progressive More yung term na ginagamit namin sa UP, may pagka-tibak, diba? Medyo more tibak side yung kino-cover. So, ako na nga taga-UP, parang I'm looking at it and I'm saying, parang if your audience is UP, etc., literal yung mga katipunan schools, right? At yun UP, parang okay, medyo nag-gets mo yan. Pero kung ikaw ay isang tao na ambivalent, wala kang ideological, let's say, investment, or you're not really familiar with the nitty-gritties, etc., like yung quartermaster, yung mga student activism, big events, you watch it and like, kailangan ko yata i-Google to. Di ba? Yung mga parang, kailangan ko i-Wikipedia to. Ano ba yung welga nila na
yung first quarter?
Di ba yung first quarter at saka yung di ba may reference pa to to a former president. Bilang takot na tayo mag-spoiler alert. There was even a reference to a former president from 1950s to serve in a convention because they wanted to prevent Marcos extending his term. But even that, it came out of nowhere. Like, totally it came out of nowhere. So, medyo yun din ang inisip ko na, sayang, magandang angle yun, na parang, ito mga activists are not against democracy. They're against dictatorship. They want a democracy to stay there. They want an inclusive system. They were willing to work with ex-presidents to come up with a system that is more inclusive and responsive, right? Yun nga so for me, even as a UPian, I'm like wondering, like, kung ikaw ay isang ordinaryong mamamayan or median consumer, you come in and watch it, how much can you relate and how much can you keep up with the nitty-gritties, nuances, and the evolution of the story and the plot, right? Yun ang tanong ko Now, I'll ask you more because you're not even from UP or from the other side, right? So, ikaw, para sa'yo, like, how did it come off to you? Like, did it look like a inside story?
Kaya nalilito dun talaga ako Parang yung unang scene ng maski actually doon sa unang scene, yung sa Welga, ito spoiler ulit yung sa unang scene sa Welga, hindi ko din maintindihan, nag-Welga sila, pero parang yung background, parang nasa bundok sila.
Yun nga Exactly, like, NPA ba to or hindi? Parang yun nga like even, again, a spoiler alert, sorry for that, but I thought nga it's like them in like it's already that rebelde mode, pero hindi pala. This is supposed to be in Manila or something.
UP campus ba yun?
Yeah, exactly, yun nga. It was supposed to be in Manila So, hindi ko rin or,
Manila. Siguro baka inisip ko baka pag sa budget, baka naman
hindi rin bro, 'di ba? I mean, yun nga point eh.
Streets.
I don't know. Then di ba may mga scenes diyan na nagbubugbugan sila with the okay again. Yung confrontation.
Hindi,
The background was black eh.
Nasa kalsada na. So medyo gets mo na yun nasa kalsada.
Yun nga eh, hindi ko rin naintindihan yung part na yun. Kaya nga akala ko, wow, diretso na sa ano na yun, parang Rebelde in the Mountains na. Hindi yung pala, hindi eh. It's actually referring still sa street fights eh. Sa Manila pa yung struggle eh. So kaya nga, medyo na ano rin ako doon. Like, again, maybe in a theatrical context, you can pull it off. But in a film movie, a cinematic context, baka may issue doon sa transposition. So it's not only transition, but there are some concerns also with transpositions, right? Yung transposition na theatrical, topography and theatrical approach, and then ilagay mo sa cinema, parang I'm not sure the one-to-one correspondence is as effective. I don't know.
Ayun.
Parang worried ka rin ah. Don't worry, 10 minutes na lang. Okay, don't worry. Nakikita ko bigla na conscious ka na rin eh.
Kasi gusto ko din marinig from you eh. Para punta tayo doon sa problema ko, doon sa biggest problem ko sa movie. So sa mga nanonood doon dito kay Richard, yun nga, yung movie review ko doon sa channel ko, it was a little harsh sa KATIPS.
Yeah.
Hindi masyado because of the movie quality or all that. But because ang pinaka-problema ko, maybe Richard, you could answer this.
Yeah, of course.
It was playing into the narrative of yung mga people who are advocating who are pro-martial law, na martial law was just for communism. Yun lang, 14 years na si McCoy, kasi dahil sa mga komunista, which is, di ba, parang halatang palusot or ano, pero ang problema, yun na nga yung kanilang narrative. Tapos this movie would play into that pa. And sa akin, actually, doon sa part pa lang sa typewriter, yung nagta-type sila doon sa newsroom, doon pa lang medyo nagulat na ako when spoiler ulit when Vince Tañada, nung tinanong kung ano yung trabaho niya, he was a writer for Ang Bayan.
Right.
And he said something ng CPP-NPA.
Right.
Sabi niya mismo yun sa movie. Diba? Ang Bayan is the official publication yata hindi ako nagkakamali, of the CPP-NPA.
Right.
So, doon pa lang, medyo parang...
Yeah, is this gonna help their argument, right? Or the implied argument? Yun nga eh, yeah.
Yun ang,
kaya nga bro, sorry for cutting you here. Because kaya nga sabi ko dyan, mahalaga yung binigay yung background, bakit sila naging aktivista. Nakita nila yung pagkakulang ng hustisya. Nakita nila yung human rights violations, yung salvage. Nakita nila anong mga mangyayaring masama kung naging diktador tayo. You get what I'm saying? Kaya nga mahalaga yung origin stories or at least some sort of background. How did we arrive at this deadlock ahead of the declaration of martial law? That was a very, very important thing, no? And kaya nga parang biglang parang bakit hindi na squeeze out masyado yan kasi mahalaga yan, no? And then your argument, yes, the right-wing argument, I'll put it mildly, is that Marcos was a bulwark against communist, right? Expansion, right? Now, obviously, that was a propaganda used to justify dictatorship. And I think it's a propaganda that should have been challenged in this movie. And that could have been challenged. And that was somehow being challenged, but we just feel it didn't go all the way to really challenge it. And di ba there are scenes there, nung sila Mon, di ba, yung mga actors na police and all, they say, again, sorry, for spoiler alert, when they try to justify what they're doing by saying na ginagawa namin para magkaroon ng asenso, law and order, etc. Again, sorry, spoiler alert. Yeah, so in a way, I don't know. I mean, the movie is fair now by giving the other side also their voice. But we know the purpose of the movie is actually to create historical awareness and to fight against historical revisionism, right? So if that's the goal you have set, I'm not sure it's meeting that head on.
Yun ba talaga ang goal nung sa movie?
Yeah, ito yung sinabi ni Vince. Tignan mo bro, tignan mo yung mga sinasabi ni Vincent Tañada, di ba? I mean,
kasi ginawa nila to, syempre, ginawa to last year, si Duterte pa yung Pangulo. At that time, ay nakakala natin, si Sara yung magiging Pangulo. Diba?
Hindi pa, bro, but Bongbong Marcos was already coming close. Ito. So, ito yung quote niya kanina. This is Vincent Tañada. Okay, this is Vincent Tañada, guys. Okay, so sinabi niya, we know as an artist, it is also our objective not just to entertain people, but more important than that, we are here to educate. We also want to educate the young people about the atrocities of martial law. Medyo nakalimutan natin yun eh. Nakalimutan natin in the last elections. I guess we also have the responsibility na makapagturo at malaman ng kabataan yung mga nangyari ng panahon na yan. Oh, so come on, man. This is art. This is not art for art's sake. This is art for social relevance. This is art for social political education. This is art for preserving historical memory. This is art. I mean, tignan mo yung dulo ng movie. Sorry, spoiler alert again. It's all about collective history, collective memory. It's about victims who survive, victims of martial law. So, I don't know, bro. It's not an art for an art's sake. Eh. I don't buy that argument. If they want to make that argument, I don't buy it because that's not what I see in the movie. That's not what I see in what the director is saying now when he's being interviewed. He clearly is there for educational purposes.
Ito, tatanong ko din sa iyo, Richard. Kasi for sure, definitely maririnig natin sa mga BBM vloggers na mga kaibigan natin. What if, sabihin nila, na what if yung KATIPS movie is parang promoting yung medyo extreme activism eh. Borderline NPA.
So baka ma-red tag pa sila. Parang glamorizing rebellion.
O parang glamorizing rebellion. Yun ang...
So far, in fairness, no, hindi sila na-attack for that. Kaya nga, this is where, this is where actually I praise Vincent. Because I think Vincent was very brave for going mainstream with that kind of plot eh. Because that plot is very tibak. It's not even dilaw, bro. It's more left than that eh. Kaya nga, in an era of red tagging and paranoia, that was audacious, bro. So actually, if you think about it, the movie turned out even braver than I thought, right? Because I thought it was more the yellow story, right? No, it's almost red story, right? Somewhere between yellow and red. So wow, this is really audacious. So it's not only about... So in a climate of red tagging, I think Attorney Tanyada made a very brave piece. Very, very brave piece. You know, so ako, after that, parang narealize, wow, grabe yan. But in the same vein, bro, di ba, ang tanong natin is, ano naman ang maging reception ng masa or isang ordinaryong tao na apolitical pag nanood siya ng ganito? Let's say, ikaw ay isang ordinaryong tao. By some chance, you have free tickets to both, right? And by some chance, interesado ka at wala kang masyadong strong points of view in favor of either side. You go and watch this one, you go and watch the other one, then the question is, saan ka tataya? Or where are you gonna lean more politically and all? And that's where you come in, right? That's where our concerns comes in, na as much as na-humanize yung mga activists, hindi na-explain masyado bakit sila naging aktivista. What was so wrong and revolting about the injustice of the system that made these sweet students, beautiful kids, turn into activists, right? What made it so compelling for them to be activists? Or for nuns, yung mga madre, yung mga pare. Bakit sila sumasali dito sa mga aktivista na yan? Anong nangyayari dyan? So, that's why I'm saying that was very important part. That is education. That is a very important education. So, who knows? Maybe there'll be a second part of KATIPS. I don't know. But my point is that if there's going to be a second part of KATIPS, if there's going to be another movie about martial, etc., I hope they pay attention also to that. Yung origin stories. Why people become activists, right? I mean, I'm not an activist, but people ask me, how did you become a political analyst or someone, a political commentariat guy, right? And I have my own origin stories, right? In many ways, it's Tatay Digong's presidency, right? Ikaw naman, yung origin stories mo, yung panahon ni Isko, di ba? Once pumasok siya, in sila Vico. So we have our origin stories. This is what shapes our passion and dedication. So it would be nice to know why some people become activists, not political vloggers like you or political commentary, the pundits or columnists like me, for instance, etc.
Yun. Yeah. Tama. Yun talaga yung pinaka...
Parang ayaw mo na magsalita. Yun, tama, okay na yan. Wag na tayo magsalita, mahirap na.
Ano may nagsabi, ito eh.
Na-burn ka na ba, bro? Na-burn ka na ba?
About a decade ago. Hindi naman, kasi ako, if
ano
they
daw?
watch yung aking movie review, created about a decade ago yung play. If they watch yung movie review ko, it was a little harsh talaga, medyo...
Yeah, I think you were, ganito, I think you were coming really from a good place because you wanted there to be a balance, right? You wanted a proper rebuttal and all, and parang hindi mo nakita exactly what you were looking for. So I could see you were sincerely concerned that considering what you saw on the other side, which we'll discuss in the next episode, parang, I'm not sure. Nakita ko yung rebuttal na hinahanap ko. And again, to be fair to Attorney Tanyada, he didn't make this movie nakasabay. He made this long time ago probably, right? And last year lang lumabas. So hindi talaga siya dapat katapat. But as I said, for other practical and political reasons, tinapat sila ngayon. But it's not really made to... Kaya nga, dito papasok si Director Lamangan, no? Kasi siya talagang he's promising to come up with this counter version, right? To correct historical denialism and distortionism.
I think also, it's also important din eh. Kasi sa panahon ngayon, that goes the same din pati sa ating mga content creators, mga vloggers.
Right.
It's not hindi lang kailangan na parang to facts and totoo lahat. And kailangan you need to be entertaining din eh.
Yeah, engaging. Yeah.
Engaging eh. You need to appeal doon sa mga nanonood or else they won't watch you.
Right.
Or else, di ba?
Right.
They would turn off.
Right.
You need to be entertaining first, you need to be engaging first, tapos tsaka you deliver kung ano man yung message mo doon sa tao. So, yun.
Right. And the other thing is also, as I said, diba, you have to meet the voters where they are. The same way you have to meet the audience where they are, right? You don't assume they already know about this student activism history, about UP, etc. No, you're there to educate them, no? Kaya nga, tingin ko nga, this KATIPS was made for a more niche audience, not necessarily mainstream audience. So kaya nga, I want to be fair also to KATIPS, and probably that's where you are a little bit unfair, siguro, yan ang pwede kong criticism sa'yo, is because you were expecting it to be a response to a more mainstream movie, which is what we're gonna discuss, right? Because sa tingin ko talaga, more niche talaga. Exactly, and I cannot blame you precisely because of the context. But now, to be honest, now, di ba, I mean, ganito na lang. If you were given a chance, would you write your review the same way you wrote it the other day? Considering now, upon this further reflection na, in fairness naman, it was not really made na pangtapat doon. And probably it had a more niche audience in mind.
Same pa rin.
Okay.
Medyo same pa rin.
Ginusto mo yan. Okay. Ginusto mo yan.
yun lang yung
ayan na, yung mga natin, nagsasabi si Dick. Sabi ni Dick, KATIPS is promoting rebellion. So may mga nagko-comment dyan dito sa mga live natin. Ayan, itong mga accusations, nire-red tag na eh. Red tagging eh. Oo.
Pero yun nga, ang sabihin ko dapat, okay, yun lang naman yung worry ko din doon.
Right.
I said doon sa movie review ko na medyo harsh siguro sabihin. This film will not help yung nangyayari ngayong laban against the Marcoses.
Fully.
The father,
Yeah.
Yung sa FM, not sa BBM kasi wala namang kinalaman, wala namang sa different whole story, pero this movie may be harmful even.
Right.
Yun ang naging ano ko eh.
Right.
Medyo harsh na assessment ko dun sa movie review ko eh. Because syempre nga, kasi nga, hindi din ako, ikaw mas naiintindihan mo yung ginagawa, yung ganon and yung culture na ganon. So, yun yung naging worry ko.
Yeah, kaya nga, di ba? We have to look at it, anong appeal nito beyond a niche audience. Yung hindi familiar dito sa background nito sa kasaysayan, etc. Kasi we're here nga to educate eh. Kaya nga pansin mo, bro, di ba? When I do my meta, I don't use jargons as much as possible. And when I use them, I explain them. Because hindi ko expect na alam ng lahat ng tao itong mga jargons na ginagamit namin in certain academic circles or, punditry circles, etc. Right? So I think trabaho din natin bilang, whatever you are, educators, artists, directors, etc., to reach out to people where they are. And the reality is that the level of political consciousness and discourse in our country is nowhere close to where it should be, right? If we want to be a mature democracy. So I think that's really the issue we have at hand here. All right. So, salamat. All right. Salamat. Thank you very much for that, bro. So we'll cut it here and then we'll transition to the next one. Ito, mas mainstream itong movie na to, clearly for the mainstream audience and clearly for the political moment, which is the return of the Marcoses, right? So, let's talk about that. Spoiler alert again, and pasensya na. I mean, we tried as much as possible. Spoiler alert for the 10th time. All right. Ayan na naman tayo. Again, and please don't take our points wrongly. We want the best especially for good people, right? Who have good intentions, right? So that's what we want to happen here. All right? Thank you very much. Maraming salamat. So yan, marapit na tayo mag-50 episode, bro, no? Dito sa Project Pilipinas. So thank you very much for that. We'll upload this soon. And then next, we'll discuss Made in Malacanang. Okay, sige bro. Palit tayo ng ano.
Upload ko na din to tonight.
Kagad na bro kasi hahanapin ng tao yan. Spoiler alert. Ayan tayo. Ayan tayo. Okay, magpalit lang ako na. Ikaw, hindi ka magpalit. Para kunyari, mga ibang...
Okay na.
Guys,
Black lang din naman.
Walang hiya.
Sige,
Wait
palit
lang.
na muna. Kausap muna kami ng ano nyo.
Ayun, kasi wala akong tiwala kaya hindi ako umalis Ayan tayo. Mga ka-fuego.
Magbasa tayo ng comment, guys.
Sige lang, go ka lang.
Sino sa inyo nakanood ng review ko? Basahin natin. Antonio Kaibigan, please interview Direk Daryl to hear his side.
Ikaw bro, ikaw mag-interview.
John Clarence, KATIPS took advantage sa hype ng Made in Malacanang. Pero actually, tinan mo si Direk Vince Tañada, he became a household name overnight. Diba? 2 weeks ago, hindi naman natin kilala yan si Direk Vince. Pero ngayon, diba? Pinag-uusapan natin, he became a new bagong talking head for the kakamping side. Diba? Magkasama pa sila kahapon ni Guanzon. Diba? Yun, Wendy Floriendo promotes propaganda and historical revisionism.
Ayan.
Hello, Noemi.
Wait lang, lobat na pala ako bro. Kunin ko yung charger ko pala.
Sige, charge lang.
Tama lang yung naka-block tayo. Bagay sa topic natin.
Oo. Ria Cruz. Smart move, Direct Vince. Actually. Yun nga di ba? Imagine niyo kunyari, the film grossed 10 million pesos.
Yeah.
Laki! Di ba? Bigla kami 10 million pesos na kikita from out of nowhere, di ba? Kumaga, napaglaban mo na yung paniniwala mo, kumita ka pa ng 10 million pesos. Saan ka nakakita ng ganon, di ba? Alin po maganda panoorin sa dalawang movie? Sabi ko. Punta na lang kayo sa channel ko, doon nyo na lang ano yung sinabi ko.
Tsaka ngayon, may budget na siya gumawa ng next movie na talagang pangtapat siguro.
May budget na.
May budget na.
May budget na siya in fairness.
Yun yung dapat gagawin tao. Isipin nila, may budget na ngayon si Director Tanyada to make his next movie.
I think, good. Hindi ko naisip yun.
Diba?
If you may, kunyari, example, 10 million, it's a good enough budget na gumawa ng another movie.
Of course, it goes the other way too, right? But I won't count.
At i-review ko, sinenivin sentiments.
Wait lang. I hope hindi maghang yung laptop. Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Alright. Ayan. Sabi ni John Clarence, nag-agree daw siya sa'yo dun sa mo bro. Dun sa review mo or something like that. Sabi naman ni Ria Cruz, win-win situation naman daw. So, okay naman. I mean, either way, may budget na rin ng mga KATIPS people to make another movie na siguro more even directly, nagre-respond dito sa, what they characterize as historical distortion and denialism, no? So, that's interesting. Yan, may bastos na naman, Yeah, medyo may mga next level scenes dyan sa KATIPS. So, spoiler alert, no? Medyo, hindi tayo handa, bro. Grabe, medyo, wow, where is that from, right? Okay. Ayan. So, marami kang fans, bro, na nanonood din. Sabi naman ni Ed, okay. Aesthetic pala yung comment. Okay, I'll watch your review for, okay. Alright, let's go. Let's do the next, eto na. Chismis time. Ayan na. Eto na. Chismis time. Ay. Okay, spoiler alert again tayo. Dami naman magagalit sa atin.
Si Binay, good din natin, May maganda din.
Okay, let's start with Nancy Binay then. Since Nancy Pelosi was in Taiwan and made waves, let's talk about the other Nancy. Ilabas ko yung kay Nancy, ah. Okay. Ano daw? Walang hiya yung mga nagko-comment dyan. Hoy, huwag kayong malaswang mag-comment dyan. Umayos kayo dyan.
Afam.
Medyo iba na yung yung isip ng iba, medyo makati yung utak nila eh. Wait lang. Etong kay Nancy, hindi Nancy Pelosi. Tuloy, sa akin Nancy, nababaliktad ko na yung dalawang Nancy eh. Si Nancy Binay pumunta po sa Taiwan. Ano? Sabi ng tao. Ito, nalabas na natin kay Nancy Binay. Yun, no? Si Nancy Binay talaga the biggest transformation story in Philippine politics, di ba?
Not really eh. Ano siya, pag-usapan natin.
Yeah, no. I don't mean what she is per se, but how she has been received by the yellow camp, di ba? Like she was the bête noire, now she's like the voice of... That's what I mean. Of course, I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say, no, she's been like this ever, hindi lang dati na-appreciate. I know what you're saying. Pupunta rin tayo dyan. Papunta na tayo sa exciting part, bro. Wait lang. Papunta na tayo. Okay.
Hindi ko pa nasasabi sa vlog ko yung thoughts ko dito kay Nancy Binay eh.
Oo, sige. Punta na tayo dyan. Papunta na tayo sa exciting part. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Record. Go. Yon, guys. Eto na. Hello rin sa'yo, bro. Ano na? Eto na.
Made in Malacanang.
Eto na talaga. Matagal natin pinag-usapan yan. Finally, andito na po yung inaabangan ng mga unit team, mga ka-unit team. At hindi abangan, ano bang kabaliktaran na abangan? Naman yung response ng mga ayaw sa unit team. At saka mga alright. So very polarizing ito, no? So I would argue this is the most polarizing artistic work. Quote-unquote artistic work, if I could put it that way. Or creative work we have had in years, if not in a decade or so, no? I mean, grabe, no? The level of discussion, the level of reaction, negative, positive, whatever it has, created, no? And triggered. Yes, bro.
May gusto lang din akong
Go lang.
before we start yung ating review sa Made in Malacanang. Maski for your audience na din, na live na nakikinig. When you refer, pag pinag-uusapan natin itong movie, sa Made in Malacanang, about the martial law years.
Right.
Tapos, di ba, yung mga loyalista, di ba? I think it is better not to refer to them as a unity team eh. Iwalay natin eh. Kasi maniwala kayo sa akin, marami sa unity team na bumoto ng unity team, ayaw naman kay Ferdinand Marcos Sr.
Right.
Di ba? Pero some of them, they just don't like...
Kasama dyan si Mocha Uson, di ba? Mocha Uson, right? Mocha Uson.
Mocha Uson was with Isko eh. I mean, nasa unity, yung bumoto kay Marcos Sara nung last election. So sa akin, yun yung isang important point ko kaagad eh. Na when we are talking about Marcos Sr., wag mong ihahalo doon sa politics ng ngayon. Kasi even Duterte's mom, President Duterte's mom, was on the side of Cory nung 1980s,
right.
Diba? So, I think...
Or even the Binays, right? Who were supposedly the enemies of the Dilaw before, actually were also very strongly involved in the anti-Marcos movement. And speaking of that, Nancy Binay, hindi Nancy Pelosi. Right? We have been talking about Nancy Pelosi. And ito na talaga. Sa kaka Nancy Pelosi, si Nancy Binay po, pumasok na rin sa eksena. So meron siyang... Ito na, nilabas ko yung statement. Ito na, Zadi na tayo. Lagay ko yung glasses ko. So may statement naman si Senator Nancy Binay. Again, hindi ito Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi. Sabi niya, well-meaning friends have brought to our attention pictures supposedly coming from the film Made in Malacanang, which are now trending in social media. The pictures depict the late Corazon Aquino together with some religious sisters. The nuns are not wearing our brown religious habit, but if these pictures are portraying the events of the February 1986, then the allusion to the Carmelite order in Cebu is too obvious for anyone not to see. So obviously, yung mga nagsabi, ay walang politika yan, ano lang, innocent yung movie na yan, get out of here. Sabi ni Nancy Binay, let be known that no one responsible for the production of the movie came to us to... Oh shoot, sorry, is this from Nancy Binay? Ito yung shinare ni Nancy Binay, right?
Tineri nga si Binay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
In solidarity with
In solidarity, sorry. Okay, let me correct myself. Sorry. Kasi biglang nakita ko dito signed by Mary Melanie Costillas, right? Sorry. So my apologies again. This was shared. This was shared. So it was still in solidarity, di ba? So this is not her statement per se, but clearly this is in solidarity. So by the way, this is the caption of Senator Nancy Binay. Imaginary events can never be history. Right? So imaginary events, Marites events. Historical trueness will always prevail over historical fiction. The path to healing, I love this part. The path to healing a nation begins at truth-telling. So you don't unify a country by making more lies or intensifying lies or distorting truth. So again, sorry about that. My apologies. Sa kaka Nancy Pelosi, medyo na tayo dito sa na. So sorry again. So Nancy Binay, this is her statement before she shared that statement by the Carmelite sisters. So again, imaginary events can never be history. In short, hindi po chismis ang kasaysayan. Historical trueness, meaning correctness, based on facts, evidence, will always prevail over historical fiction. Or rather, should always prevail. Unfortunately, it doesn't always prevail, as we can clearly see, diba? The path to healing a nation, I like this part, begins at truth-telling. So, kung gusto mo ng unity, you don't create unity by adding more lies or pangbabastos sa katotohanan. And then, sorry, she shared, again, my apologies again, she shared this statement by the Carmelite sisters. Again, so they were talking about the scene. Doon sa, again, spoiler alert. Wala, na-spoil na rin nila. So, kasi minention na rin dito.
Nasa trailer naman.
Nasa trailer na.
So, pero yun, ang point ko dito, siguro kung mayroon ako ding reaction doon sa sinabi ni Nancy. If there's one thing that Campings can get from doon sa sinabi niya, sa akin, to defend yung what really happened during martial law,
right.
Campings can't do it alone.
Yeah.
The Liberal Party cannot do it alone. You need the Binays.
Or non-partisans. Yeah.
You need I mean, those are malalaking figures during that time. Diba? You need the Pimentels, you need
Cayetanos.
Malalaki, even the Cayetanos.
Right.
Diba? So you need those names na hindi pwedeng parang lahat or parang it's still konektado pa rin doon sa 2022 election.
Right. That's
So it's a completely different
right. Right. That's
natutuwa ako dito kay Nancy Binay, kay Coco Pimentel.
Right.
That's the politics of their fathers
Right.
Kaya si Nancy is nandiyan on that side. Kasi noong 1986, her father was nandun sa side ni Cory. And ito yung pinakabuong punto ko. Na I think the Binays is a good example of what probably went wrong between 1986 up to today.
Right.
Diba? Because the Binays naging mayor ng Makati after nung People Power, di ba? He was appointed by Cory and hindi na sila bumaba. I mean, tuloy-tuloy na sila. I mean, hanggang ngayon, it's still Binays in Makati. And, di ba? Parang doon mo makita yung posibleng naging problema along the way na people na on the side of democracy during that time, nung dumating na yung democracy, di ba? Sila na yung nalagay sa power, doon dumating yung mga problema tuloy. Diba? So, yun din yung point mo kanina na yung ibang tao ay frustrated because of that. Pero at least ngayon, si Nancy nagsasalita, which is a good thing. Diba? Which is, we need more of that.
Because she's not Dilawan. Exactly. Let her speak.
Yes.
I would like other independent senators to speak. Maybe Senator Poe. I don't know. Senator, there are maraming senators dyan na hindi naman opposition necessarily. But, Pimentel, di ba? I think Pimentel should speak out because his father's legacy, the original PDP laban, was supposed to be against, the martial law and dictatorship, right?
Yeah, I think that's
very good point.
He became minority leader.
Very good point.
I think that's his way of honoring his father.
Yeah. Diba? And also making opposition cross ideological, cross partisan, etc., right? Very, very
Oh,
interesting.
kasi in a way, nakatulong din sila sa revival ng mga Marcos kasi they were instrumental in putting Duterte into office in
Right,
2016.
right,
And
right.
alam natin how that paid. So parang this is Coco Pimentel's way of
Talagang,
honoring yung
right,
legacy ng kanyang dad. So
yeah.
I think ganun, yung argument, yung debate doon sa what happened during the martial law years shouldn't be tainted by the politics that we have now. Yung presidency ni Pinoy, anong kinalaman ng presidency ni Pinoy sa nangyari ng martial law, di ba?
Right, right.
And everything that happened in recent years.
Very, very good
So,
point. Yeah, bro, may I go back again to the statement? Sorry, since I started that, may I give the side of the Carmelite sisters? Because I think very important din marinig natin yung side nila because there was a very direct attack on them. Distortion, in fact, of the situation there. Diba? So sabi niya ng Carmelite sisters, let it be known that no one responsible for the production of the movie came to us to gather information on what really happened. So in short, zero effort at actual research. Any serious scriptwriter or movie director could have shown such elementary diligence before making such movie. After all, many of those nuns in Carmelite Monastery of Cebu 1986 are still very much alive and mentally alert. Therefore, nasasaktan sila when they see na binabastos sila ng ganito, na they're being shown this way, right? Among them is Mary Aimee Ataviado, who was the superior at the time. So the attempt to distort history. So this is beyond revisionism. Iba kasing revisionism, boy. Revisionism is ganito, pare. Parang, akala natin, yung Second World War ay nagsimula dahil ito yung ginawa ng Germany. Then, a new evidence comes and shows that actually hindi. At nangyari yan because Russia, based on this evidence, actually started the war. That's historical revisionism. It could be actually academically valid. Distortion is to deny that Second World War happened or that there was a Holocaust to begin with. That's denialism. Two very different things. And definitely distortion and denialism is way worse than revisionism, including some sort of very questionable revisionism. And as I said, in some cases, revisionism have a basis. Now, the attempt to distort history is reprehensible. Depicting the nuns as playing mahjong with Cory Aquino is malicious. Yan, malisyoso daw. Malisyoso daw yung scene na yan. It was suggested while the fate of the country was in peril, and nasa panganib po yung buong bansa, we could afford to leisurely play games. So medyo bastusan na yan. Parang ganun yung sinasabi. The truth was that we were then praying, not playing mahjong, but praying, fasting, and making other forms of sacrifices for peace in this country and for the people's choice to prevail. While in our prayer, we were constantly in fear that the military would come to know of our whereabouts, of the whereabouts of Miss Cory Aquino, and would soon be knocking at the monastery's door. We knew the dangers of allowing Miss Aquino to hide in the monastery, but we also prayerfully discerned that the risk was worth it as our contribution to put an end to a dictatorial regime. Indeed, we were ready to defend her at all costs. So in short, they were not playing mahjong. That's very rude. That's very much a distortion. They were praying and they were scared because andyan pa rin yung dictatorship. There were still members of the military who were aligned to the dictator until the very last moment, right? So you'll see that in the movie towards the end. Paano sila nakatakas? Paano sila nakalabas ng bansa? Siyempre, may tumulong na military, may chopper, etc. At coordinated din yan sa Amerika. Alright, so I think it's important. That's a very good start we had, no, in a way of making sure. So ito na, spoiler alert or not, these statements are out kasi some people have been very offended, including people that are still alive. And when they see this, malaking kabastusan sa kanila yan. And this is an insult to the memory of real people who prayed and fasted and sacrificed for end of a dictatorship. Again, none of this will justify yung kapalpakan na nangyari after Marcos. Ibang usapan na po yan. We're talking about the events that in the run-up to the collapse of the dictatorship. Can we be clear about that? Okay, bro. Balikan natin ngayon. So, sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I just felt it's important we have that very strong premising of our discussion today. Now, going back to this, bro, ganito. So, napanood mo yung movie. What were you expecting and what did you get out of the movie? Parang Shopee, yung in-order mo siya Shopee, yung dumating sa Shopee, parang ganun, alright? Can you give us our first general impressions? Yes.
I was expecting a very pro-Marcos movie.
Right.
I was expecting parang they want to plant an idea kung ano yung gusto nilang isipin ng tao about dun sa people power na yon. And I said in my movie review na I expected them to do that, and nagawa nila yon. Nagawa nila yung gusto nilang gawin. I mean they were able to do it. And I actually enjoyed watching the movie.
Right.
Enjoy ako. Pero I know, kumbaga you can enjoy the movie while also knowing na this movie was made para magpabango ng pangalan nila. This
Right.
movie was made para to uplift their image. Siguro nakadagdag din yon kasi sa excitement ko, what will they do next? Ano kaya ang
Right.
sasabihin nila how will they justify na ganito? How will they justify yung ousting of Ferdinand na mali yung tao for trying to oust him.
Right.
So, siguro that added na din sa excitement ko while watching the movie, and nakatulong din yung mga comedic relief ng mga
Yeah. The comic relief was really, you could see, they were really juicing that out, no? Whenever medyo maging intense, they'll bring that in. But bro, let me slightly disagree with you on that in a sense that actually I was expecting the movie to talk about ganito sa panahon ni Marcos, golden era, napakaganda yung infrastruktura, napakaganda yung bayan, lahat may Nutriban, lahat may bigas, lahat mayaman, lahat. Yung saying yung ganon, wala naman masyado.
Hindi ba that's too much eh?
Okay, so in a way, mas subtle siya. Kasi I was expecting ganon na all the way na sabihin nila, golden era, Marcos did this, Marcos saved the country, Marcos blah blah blah. Hindi. Actually, pinakita si Marcos, frail, fragile, sick. Again, spoiler alert.
They have to make it mas realistic kuno or as realistic as possible.
Or subtle kuno. Yeah.
Subtle. Kaya kung pansinin mo, yung sa review ko, kalahati yung movie. The first half, walang anything na propaganda or it's all tension.
Yes.
All tension.
And very personal, very human.
Very personal. So,
Very human,
it draws you in muna. Yung iba
Yes.
naiiyak, meron na
Interest.
naiiyak. Si Makoy, pinapagalitan si Bonget,
Right.
si Bongbong, di ba? Si Aimee, napaparanoid na. Ganon. So yung first half of the movie was that. Parang tension muna. Parang nakaka-relate ka. If sa family mo kunyari nangyari yun,
Yeah.
di ba? Parang makaka-relate ka na. The second half of the movie, doon na nila pinasok lahat ng mga gusto nilang mga ideas that they wanted to tell the audience.
Right.
Na di ba Marcos nga, spoiler, no? Mapaplag ka na naman nila, But Marcos said to Irene, bakit siya tingin niya na isang tanggalin ng mga elitista na yan, parang ganon. So, the second half ng movie, doon na. Pati yung part nung kay Robin Padilla, doon na. Pati yung part nung doon na Marcos is the greatest president. Yung second half, doon na pumasok.
Yeah, I was, by the way, nakikiramay po tayo sa pamilya ng, so may namatay na po, pumanaw na po si Cherry Hill. Nakita mo yung news, bro?
Wow, no.
Oh, grabe, ngayon ko lang nakita. So, condolences po.
Eigenman.
Oh, okay. So, sa Eigenman family and all, our nakikiramay tayo, our condolences. Okay, we can discuss these things. Now, going back again to MAID in Malacanang. Yes, you're right. Now, it was not a parang screaming propaganda, but it was more like a subtle humanization. And the thing is, parang mukhang biktima pa ang mga Marcoses dyan sa movie na yan. Parang sila pa yung kawawa, sila pa yung besieged, sila pa yung tinatraidor, sila pa yung inaapi. Parang ganun ang labas, di ba? Again, spoiler alert, but let's be honest, that's how essentially they were trying to portray it, no?
True. Kaya nga.
Yeah, at
ang hindi ko inaasahan was kung gaano siya masyadong sumentro kay Aimee.
Yeah, medyo next level.
Yun ang I didn't expect. But I knew I knew that parang siya yung main creative doon, pero talagang he was the lead character doon sa movie.
Hindi lang lead. Siya talagang leader doon sa movie na yan. Siya talagang lead again, ha?
Doon ako
Oh,
I
hindi
was
ko...
surprised
Yeah,
to
I was
see that.
surprised, hindi ko nakita yan. But anyway, kaya nga, yung joke is dapat I mean Malacanang, hindi me. Anyway, there were also scenes involving the current president, right, etc., that I think was historically quite accurate, no, in fairness. And I was surprised, like, wow, that's quite an honest thing because it jives with the historical documentation we have, diba?
It makes the film more ano eh. Kasi if you're willing to show yung
Vulnerable
mga
side, yeah.
vulnerable mo, di ba? Then the more people will sympathize with you and will
Right.
connect with you.
O,
And
di ba?
malamang
Hindi naman
nagsasabi
kami
ka ng totoo.
nagsisinungaling, di ba? Hindi naman kami lahat
Oo,
Superman
malamang kasi,
dyan. Right.
oo, hindi nila
Correct.
tinago. So malamang yung sinabi din nila, the rest of the movie, malamang baka totoo rin. So,
Interesting.
may ganun eh, may ganung
And
factor.
you know, you can argue that's how fake news or disinformation works, right? It has grains of truth sprinkled all over a much more questionable premise, right? Again, this is what critics would say. But as I said, there were scenes that were very interesting and all. But as I said, walang konteksto at all in terms of saan, bakit may people power. And then I was also a little bit surprised na the way talaga na pinakita yung mga people power activists, protesters, parang mob ang pinakita sa kanila, no? Na parang talagang ito yung mga unthinking mob, violent, haters, anarchists, rebelde. You know, parang ganun eh. And of course, we know the truth is almost the opposite of that. So, I don't know. I mean, that was also, parang, suddenly, that's the part na parang may declaration of war na, di ba? Dun sa kabila, di ba? And that's why I'm saying,
Oo, yun na yung tira talaga nila doon sa
yeah.
kanila. And alam mo, ang medyo na-shock din ako na part, medyo spoiler na ako, sorry din sentiments ha. Yung mga hindi pa napapanood, huwag muna kayo manood sa amin kasi. Panoorin nyo muna pareho, tapos yung sa retaso, is that part real? Totoo bang nangyari talaga yun?
Which
Yun ang
part, sorry?
medyo ha?
Which part, sorry?
The last one, yung retaso. The retaso one, where they cut yung gown ni Imelda.
I don't know nga, bro. Kaya nga, the interesting here is that suddenly you have the story of the yung mga kasambahay sa Malacanang, no? That's something I never came across in social science work, etc. Probably there are historians who know about that. But that's an interesting one. Pero kasi ang pinakita dyan, lahat yan si Amy nag-isip. Iba't yan, si Amy nag-isip. But we know that actually this was negotiated at the highest level with America.
Ang ginagawa nila eh. Na parang isuot mo tong yellow bandana para hindi ka gulpihin.
Right.
Tapos they would show clips nung mga loyalista at mga Cory supporters na nagkasuntukan siguro, duguan. So kung ikaw yung nakakatakot na, delikado nga para sa mga Malacanang staff, baka nga magulpi sila.
Right,
So,
right.
ang galing nung pagkaano niya, ang galing nung pagkagawa niya. Talaga yung tension on that part, talagang diretso talaga yung tama doon sa kampo ni Cory.
Right, right. And then, I don't know, I mean, what else did you find interesting about the movie or surprising, something that you were not expecting? Ano pa bang ibang surprising sa'yo na hindi mo na-expect?
Sorry?
Ano pang surprising at na parang hindi mo na-expect tapos biglang nakita mo dun sa movie? Ako yung honesty about yung the lavish lifestyle they had. Parang it's unabashed. Like, very honest. Parang walang pretension na nakawawa sila or whatever. No, talagang kitang-kita mo, they live like royalties, di ba?
Yung sinong kay Imelda, doon pala ako pinaka-nagulat, Richard. Si Imelda, parang
Underdeveloped character. Sobrang underdeveloped.
parang hindi siya ganun, parang wala siyang masyadong say doon sa nangyayari.
Kaya nga, and I think that underdeveloped yung character sa movie, but the reality is very different because Imelda was very much a central figure in the Marcos regime, especially towards the end, di ba? Nung hindi na okay si Marcos, Imelda was calling the shots in many ways and really in power struggles. I was surprised by that.
Malacanang, di ba, ito seen that way. Parang she's far from the one calling the shots.
Yun nga, so that part, I really found it strange. Like, what? I really found that part strange. I think the part on Irene is more also accurate because Irene is known as being the more, kalmado, sweet daughter, etc. So I think there were parts na, ito yung Ella Cruz, di ba? Ito yung parts na I would say interesting. Parang okay, so this is how they see it and right.
Yung parts ni Ella ang hindi chismis.
Actually interesting, no? Yung part ni Ella actually was the more serious and I would say even very accurate parts also. That's quite interesting about Ella, no? I know. I mean that. Kaya nga, it's subtle. It's a subtle movie, and then it's not subtle towards the end. Suddenly it's not. Yung Mahjong and Cory and all, suddenly it's not subtle. It's like they're essentially trolling the other side, no? I mean that's how I see it. Trolling na yun eh. Tinitroll na nila yung kabila eh. It didn't look like a serious part. Parang tinitroll nila lang talaga yung kabila eh.
Mahina yata daw audio ko. Parang di marinig ng ibang...
Ako naririnig kita. No, hindi lang sila na. So maybe I have to come closer. Sorry about that. Yeah, yung last part na biglang parang nagto-troll na sila eh, di ba? Parang they're asking for the other side to come up with their response. It came off like that kasi you get what I'm saying? Like a lot of parts are subtle, parang almost Paul Soriano style of subtle, medyo curated, and then biglang sa dulo parang trolling na yan eh. So parang interesting. So I really encourage people to watch it completely. Wag mag-walk out kaagad no matter how much you like it or dislike it. Try to give it the due attention and then from there try to form your opinion. Now, again, sorry for the spoiler alert, and yung mga nanood na, I hope we're adding some perspective into the movie because I'm sure there are many angles that each of us miss and that in these conversations yung mga angles come out, no? Now, sa tingin mo, anong maging appeal nito sa public? Kung ikaw ay isang ordinaryong tao na nanood nito, what would you think
I said dun sa vlog ko
right
na if you already voted for Bongbong Marcos last election, tapos you watch this, there's a big chance that you would believe that this is what really happened. Exactly what happened during those times. Yun lang akin.
So it reinforces their narrative.
Reinforces yung una mo ng bias or una mo ng belief tungkol doon. So kung ano yung sinabi ni McCoy nung panahon na yon, kung ano yung baka yun ang isipin mo, yun talaga kung ano yung ginawa ni Robin Padilla na sundalo, isipin mo na ganun talaga yung nangyari during that time.
Spoiler alert on Robin Hood again. Okay, yeah.
So kapag nagkaroon kayo ng argument with someone who believes in people power, they will use scenes from MAID in Malacanang. So
right.
yun ang asahan natin na that's what will happen kapag after nitong movie na to.
Right. And then you think yung kabila should also make a movie similar style approach?
May nagsulat ditong nag-comment sa'yo. Sabi niya, they should make a movie about Ninoy's assassination.
Yung kabila, you mean?
Interesting. Yung sa anti-Marcos side.
Yun nga eh. Yun nga, dapat talagang ano yan eh. Yeah, I mean, and I think there should be a movie that humanizes Ninoy, that shows he was a human being. He made mistakes, he had fears, he had anxiety. You get what I'm saying? Kasi ang accusation dito is each side build their own mythologies and grand heroes na above the fray. But the reality is, no one was perfect. Ninoy had his own fears, had his own shortcomings, had his own mistakes and regrets in life for sure, right? So I think there should be a proper movie. But it has to be a movie. Kaya nga, dito nagustuhan ko yung ginawa rin ni Vincent Tanyada because he was showing a part which tends to be missed in our binary public debate. Our debate is really Marcos versus Aquinos, right? And then Duterte's kind of came into the fray, right? Or different iterations of that, diba? But ang hindi masyadong nakita is yung mga progressive groups, no? Yung story nila hindi nakita. Kaya nga sabi ko, siguro sila Vincent Tanyada should make also a second part. Now siguro hopefully kumita sila ng enough for them to make a second movie to even further humanize the stories. Bakit nagiging activist ng tao? Bakit ganun? Again, not to encourage rebellion against the current government or anything like that, but to show why our country has been engulfed in one of the longest running insurgencies. As I said, we are here to educate people. We're here to make sure the youth do not forget the past. We are here to make sure that the collective memory of victims of martial law, etc., will not be also forgotten and disrespected. But let me say something, and I want to know your reaction. Ganito kasi, Mark eh. If you are from outside completely and then you're looking at the Philippines and you're saying, okay, they're having a lot of debates about what happened 40 years ago. But in the past 6 years, thousands of extrajudicial killings happened. Isn't that shocking enough? Why aren't there movies about that? Why aren't we discussing as much? And as much as we have to debate about what happened 40 years ago, more recently na nga lang, a lot of catastrophic things happen in terms of human rights, 'di ba? 'Di ba, Mark? Kaya nga
That's a very good, I thought about that din. Kasi even, let's say, for example, about yung crony capitalism, diba?
right.
Yung lahat ng mga naging problema ng martial law, yung mga human rights abuses that all happened, the main difference pa rin between McCoy and everyone else that came after him, at least everyone who came after him, kahit na sabihin natin sobrang kurakot sila, or sobrang sablay sila, at least they stepped down.
After 6 years. They respected the limit. Yeah.
They tried to change the system, pero nung hindi nila mabago, they stepped down. Doon yung biggest difference eh. Diba? Kasi may corruption sa lahat ng presidency, from McCoy up to the present.
Or even before.
Diba? There's corruption, pero ano yung difference? I think yun ang magandang ma-stress din eh.
Yeah.
Si McCoy hindi bumaba. They had to drag him out of Malacanang just para lang makapagpalit, just to return to democracy. And say what they want, kung gaano man kasablay or they think sablay yung nangyayari sa bansa ngayon. We are still democracy pa rin. We can elect whoever we want. A mayor from Davao, di ba? Whose mother fought, di ba pa, can become president. So kumaga yun ang magandang stress it's still a democracy pa rin. That was the gift ng people power.
Right.
Yun yung part na yun ang medyo na miss out.
I appreciate that, and I think that's a valid point. I will however add this na it's not like Tatay did not try to change the constitution. It's not like if he were successful in changing the constitution, we could not have had him extended in office, right? So you could argue that McCoy was just more magaling, that he pulled it off. See, that's one argument. The second argument is, well, yes, McCoy was there 21 years. This one was there 6 years. But in 6 years, the number of EJKs that happened compared to what happened in 21 years, you can say even more happened per year under this guy compared to the other guy. Do you get what I'm saying? Right? So you can say, based on modern definition, our latest president, before Bongbong Marcos, of course, could not be defined as a dictator because he respected his term limit. But the counter would be, well, he tried, he just failed, that's why he had to step down, right? And it's not like he didn't try to have a dynastic succession. And then the other thing is, if you look at the model of Roman dictators, we actually had the precedents whereby during ancient times, there were literally dictators who would stay in office for just few years, but in that few years, they will have full dictatorial powers, meaning complete contravention of the Constitution and all. Now, if you look at the drug war under Duterte, I don't know, man. How on earth is that in any ways in consonance with our Constitution or any kind of liberal democratic system, right, for that matter? So, yun, I mean, it's extrajudicial called for a reason, right? So, yun nga yung point ko eh. So your point is very valid because iba pa rin si McCoy, 21 years, he changed the constitution, martial law.
Pero yun nga, siguro maganda din yung point mo yan. Ang sasabihin ko naman sa mga, for your audience, sa kakampigs na nanonood nito, wag nyo ipaghalo. Kasi kawawa naman yung mga martial law victims.
Yeah, exactly. Isipin yung mga biktima. Buhay pa sila.
Dahil sa argument ngayon, dahil sa awayan ngayon between Lenny and Tigong, between Pinoy and ganito, diba? At walang kinalaman sa storya nila. Diba?
Yeah.
I made this video about that dun sa Manila, sa City Hall, merong parang wall ng mga martial law victims doon. So I made a video in front of that. Sinasabi ko, huwag niyong idamay sa politika ngayon. If you want to talk about Duterte and the ICC and the let's talk about that separate na argument. Diba? So let's pag pinag-uusapan natin itong martial law, let's talk about it as it is.
Yeah.
From the people na yung buhay pa hanggang ngayon, nandito pa. People who fought alongside Cory.
Right.
People who fought alongside Marcos. Yun eh. Kasi ako in the last few weeks, I was able to hindi ko na kwento sa vlog ko, nakasama ko si Crisologo. Si Bingbong. Diba? So, iba din yung kwento niya.
Right.
From yung mga allies ni Marcos during that time. So, I found it really interesting then from their perspective. So, hiwalay dapat eh. Hiwalay yung pag-uusap. Hindi tayo yung sa martial law. As respeto na lang din sa mga talaga naging...
Yeah, yun nga eh. Like, We can debate
If you
about
put Duterte in the
labels and all.
picture,
Yeah, we can debate about labels, but we cannot debate away real suffering of real people are still among us. A lot of them, di ba?
ito to. And then, yun nga, if you put in Duterte in the martial law argument, di ba, Duterte is still very high sa kanyang popularity ratings. Tapos, yung nanay naman ni Duterte is yellow, is
Yeah.
side ni Cory. Di ba? So, it's better not na
Well, Marcos was popular also at some point. I mean, Mussolini was popular at some point. That doesn't say that something didn't happen, right? Like, you can have 100% popularity, but if EJK happened, EJK happened. I mean, do you get what I'm saying? That's why I don't buy the popularity game. I mean, that's...
dapat hiwalay siya i-discuss. Kasi wala naman din talagang connection.
Walang connection sa popular ka, so what? Does that mean you can do whatever you want? You can just...
Kung ano mang nagawa ni Duterte during his term.
Right. Presidency is about competence. It's about respecting the bounds of law. It's not about popularity game. Ano tayo? Wow, we should. Ano tayo dito? Noontime show? I mean, come on. Okay, no offense to... Sorry for that name drop. I mean, I meant it in a generic, archetypical term, not necessarily the show. But anyway, moving on. Ito na naman tayo. Alright, I think we have discussed a lot, no? Kasi parang we talk more, maging spoiler, overwhelmed na yung mga tao. So let's keep it there. I really appreciate it. Are there some final comments you want to give, bro, before we close in this, number 46 episode? Pang ilang episode na yan? Medyo mid-40s na tayo.
Mga 45 na ata.
Something like that. Pag 50 na, you have to do some party or something. Alright.
Siguro the same message that I gave at the start of this podcast.
Right.
Yung the fight for the truth nung martial law,
right,
70s and 80s, is not exclusive to Kakampigs. Right?
Right.
It includes mga Binays, includes mga Pimentels, mga Cayetanos, and even marami doon sa Unity who voted for Bongbong Marcos.
Right.
Ayaw lang yung mga ibang kandidato.
Right.
So sa akin, it should be a separate discussion.
That's an interesting.
In as much as iniisip natin na hindi, wala dapat debate sa
right,
nangyayari ng panahon na. There is a debate. Majority of Filipinos don't believe that people power is a good thing. It's sad, kundi man majority,
a significant plurality, yeah.
A huge part of the country doesn't believe that.
Ako, bro, I would say more like there's just a lot of disappointment and frustration. I wouldn't go that far. It's like umasa ka, pinaasan tao, and then so much didn't work and dysfunctional, and napagod ang tao. In a way, I see both President Duterte's presidency and his popularity, at the same time Bongbong's presidency, as a protest vote against 3 years of dysfunctional democracy and yung mga unmet expectations. But I think over time na naman magsasoften naman mga views and angers ng tao dun sa mga yellow movement and all. I think this is more for now. But in the meantime, yeah, opposition has to come up with a compelling narrative if they want to keep their, themselves relevant in the hearts and minds of people, if not win their hearts and minds, no?
And last point ko. Ito,
yes, bro. Please go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Last na lang. Bam Aquino should be very vocal, should be at the forefront. He should defend yung legacy ng kanyang tita, ng kanyang tito. I always say this sa vlog ko, I'm really hard on Bam. Pero kailangan nagsasalita siya. He got his political career dahil madali siyang naging senador dahil siya ay isang Aquino. Dahil kamukha niya si Ninoy. Diba?
Yeah. Eyeglasses niya, diba? Yeah.
May glasses and all. Ngayong panahon that they are being attacked, inaatake si Cory, inaatake si Ninoy, he should be the one most vocal. So,
right,
how do you expect other people to defend the honor of your family kung ikaw mismo na kapamilya nila ay
right,
hindi nagsasalita? So, yun ang aking mensahe kay Senator Bam Aquino. So, ayun.
Okay, let me give a counter-argument to that. What if the counter-argument is that, but isn't that the point of the 2022 elections? Now, maybe it's better the baton is passed to someone else, because once the Aquinos themselves get involved, then you're giving more ammunition to the opposition. In fact, didn't you yourself said let the Binays and Cayetanos and others and Coco Pimentels get involved? I don't know. I'm just saying maybe that's the reason why BAM is not as front and center. Baka mag-blow back eh.
Hindi siya makikialam Ito, suggestion ko lang to. Wala naman.
No, this is good. No, I like this discussion because we have to have this discussion. This is very important. Yes, bro. Thank you for raising this. Maraming salamat.
Hindi siya, sa opinion ko, wag siya masyadong makialam sa presidency ni Bongbong Marcos. Let him run the country. Let the opposition criticize o kung ano man. Let the current opposition criticize kung ano man.
Right.
And just focus on defending the legacy of Ninoy and Cory. Yun lang.
Why not Noy Noy? Yung mga ginawa ni Noy na hindi naman masama, maganda na may mga ginawa naman siya maganda. 'Di ba?
Pwede din niyang isama, pero kasi Immediate Malacanang naman si Cory ang inatake.
Pero bro, kasi connected lahat eh. I mean, Bongbong is here because of what we feel about EDSA, what we feel about the father. Hindi ba connected lahat yan?
Kasi I think, sinanay din naman, utang din naman niya yung presidency niya kay Ninoy at Cory.
Daddy niya at mom niya.
Because of his parents. The same way kay Bam. So,
and Bongbong.
Yeah. Ano yun?
And Bongbong.
Yeah, and Bongbong also.
It's a family affair.
Kaya nga, politics of their fathers eh. That's why you have the Nancy Binay and the Coco Pimentels eh.
Right.
Si Bam, ganun din. Kasi walang ibang walang ibang magde-defend. Not for anything else. Just defend the family name. Kasi kung pamilya mismo, why would you expect other people to defend? Diba? If you can't defend yourself, yung mga kapamilya mo na you owe them your political career. So yun lang yung last point ko.
I really appreciate this, bro. I mean, I really like your last one. I think that was very, very important. Kasi our discussions here are really not only about this issue or that issue, but it's the big picture, no? We look at the movie, then look at the big picture. We look at the game, we look at the big picture. We look at the personality, we look at the big picture. I think ito yung unique sa atin sa Project Pilipinas. We try to go beyond just the latest headlines while discussing the headlines, no? So I really appreciate that with what we're doing. And I also like your pragmatic suggestions na let's go beyond just labels, let's go beyond moral posturing, virtue signaling, cancel culture. I really appreciate that, and I think that's one of the reasons I really enjoy our collaborations, bro, through and through. And God bless you, and thank you very much for that. All I want to say to end on these episodes, because this was an intense episode. I think our past 2 episodes have been very intense. Let me say that may this be hopefully an opening of a new era of more politically relevant, socially conscious, educationally relevant era in Philippine cinema. We had a golden age back in the day, right? And then nawala. Puro na lang, alam niyo na, diba? But I think, may this be a challenge to people who believe in factual history, who believe in the preservation of the memory of the victims of martial law, who believe in our democracy, who believe in a true democracy and fighting against both oligarchs and despots. May this serve as a challenge to them to come up with even better movies to fight against disinformation, but more importantly, inspire a sense of historical perspective, inspire respect for human rights, and inspire love for the Filipino people and our country. So yun talagang para sa akin mahalaga. So maraming salamat kapatid, no? I really appreciate that. And thank you also sa mga kameta, among others who have been following us live. I know marami tayong ginagawa dito. We really, really appreciate it. And please, feel free to share your comments and suggestions, how we can improve our episodes, how we can continue our discussions, what else we have to discuss. But for now, nagpapasalamat tayo ng mahigit dito kay Mark for giving us really, really comprehensive and also practical suggestions. So thank you, Mark, for being so honest, for sincere. And marami naman nagmamalsay, including dito sa ating Facebook, among others na live na nag-comment. So wag ka ma-discourage doon sa mga iba. Alright? But also, as Nancy says, be nice. Alright? Be nice. Okay. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much, bro. Maraming salamat sa mga Project Pilipinas people. Please continue to support us, like us, give us 5-star. Please, over Spotify. Libre lang yung star na yan. Walang bayad yan. Yun lang, please, para ang aim namin umabot ng 1,000 ratings para medyo high level na tayo. Alright? So please, add us, Project Pilipinas. Alright? Please add, support us. Just give us stars. Just watch us. Just give us some chance para tuloy-tuloy itong efforts natin. Nag-effort kami, nag-update kami, etc. Ayan. So yung mga previous episodes namin, meron pa tayong mga discussions kay may Kibuloy pa dito, may Abe, may yung ibang Abe, a lot. May ghosting bill na pinag-usapan. We discuss everything under the sun. We have great people are guests, si Leloy in the past, a number of candidates, presidential candidates, senatorial candidates. Some of them have won office. They're now there. So, shout out naman dyan sa mga interview namin na senator na yung isa ano na, alright. Ayan na, baka naman. Hello naman daw. Thank you very much. Salamat and God bless.
Bye.
Alright bro, send ko na sa'yo. Upload na natin ngayon.
Okay.
Go na tayo. Thank you very much bro. Magpahinga ka na rin.
Okay, bye-bye guys.
Looking good. God bless. Thank you very much. Yun. Wow. Sorry na lang guys sa mga spoiler alert. Alright. Thank you very much guys sa mga nakikinig sa atin. I hope narinig nyo pa rin si Mark. Narinig nyo ba si Mark? Yung iba naman okay naman daw. Thank you very much. Salamat kay April, kay Abe, among others also sending us stars and support. I really, really appreciate it. It's very, very kind of you. Let me also thank you guys yung mga nandito. Alam ko, ang tagal na. It's almost 11 p.m. So, 1 a.m. na to sa Australia. It's early morning sa America, etc. Hello na dyan kay Mark. Kagad nandyan talaga mga kamarites natin. Alright. Let me thank Abe, Qui, April, Hipolito, or Que, Juan Ryan, Nina Castillo, Carmelia Wong, Bay Mary, Jen Love, Donna Garcia, Ann F, Victoria D, Glenn Canyonaso, Norman Manago, Normie Barroyo, Munlot Gonzalez, Christian Joy Cruz, Joy G. Robles. Sabi niya, we'll watch KATIPS tomorrow. Now you have an idea on what to expect. Again, sorry for spoiler alert. Again, kay Ma'am Jocelyn Lumber, very kind of you. Kay Ma'am Fanny, kay Dian Liasos, Pal Mraz, Katrina, Paladin Freyes, as always, mga supportive friends natin, Maria, Gasataya, Aliligay, Arwin Rubio, Alan Yu, Cecile Halili, thank you very much, Vilma Alberto, Joel Mundo, at Michael Uy. Again, thank you so much sa mga bigyan ng stars, mga sumusuporta sa atin. Natutuwa nga na itong kaibigan natin, katropa natin si Mark, na nagko-comment kayo and all. I-upload na namin guys yan sa Spotify namin, Project Pilipinas. Please guys, add support. Just give stars. It's free. Please rate it. Please support us para naman ganado kami. Alright? Hopefully, maabutan namin 1,000 ratings. Yun lang naman habol namin. Walang monetization anything dito. Alright? So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much sa support nyo. Maraming salamat. Have a good night and talk to you guys tomorrow. Hasta mañana and adios. Thank you.